and welcome back. With me now is Dr. David Gillman, and David is actually the project manager for IRVE-3.
Yes.
So David, thank you for joining us.
Sure.
We've heard a lot about this project so far, this mission, the launch that's coming up, but tell us a little bit about that timeline. What's going to happen from the moment those igniters kick off till we recover the pieces of IRVE-3?
All right. Well, it'll be an exciting 20 minutes of flight, and then however long it takes them to find it. But the initial burn of the rocket finishes in about 1 minute, and at that time, the vehicle will be just have left the top of the atmosphere, some 60 miles up. And then after another minute or so, we will separate the rocket from the payload, and we will eject the nose cone from it, so that now we're just what we've been designing all this time. But it will still be on its way up, and it will keep going for another 5 minutes until it reaches its apogee, which is 450 kilometers above the Earth, and will be up in the area where there is traffic from satellites. But at that point, then it will start coming down. And one of the things that has really impressed me is to think about that time of freely falling down to the Earth again, and without the wind resistance. So if you just imagine falling and falling and falling and keep going for 5 minutes, you see imagine how fast we will be going. And when we hit the atmosphere, we will be going 2.5 kilometers a second.
Wow.
And the first thing that will happen after we do that is we will get to be under the control of the aerodynamics of the vehicle we have built. So really we're trying to see how it flies.
Right.
And our first thing that will happen is then we'll have a pulse of heat as we get maximum heating on our vehicle. But then we will go through, as we get into heavier and thicker atmosphere, we will slow down at the maximum rate, 20 Gs. And finally, when we slow down, there is a transition between supersonic and subsonic that's called transonic. And that is a difficult area of flight. It won't take us long to get to that point. Officially, our mission is over at a little under the speed of sound. And at that point, we are going to try a few bonus maneuvers. We're going to try shifting our center of gravity left and right and see if we can steer this thing, just to check.
Right.
And then finally we will splash into the water, and the speed is high enough that we think that it will probably burst several of the toroids that hold air. But nonetheless, we think there will be enough trapped air to hold it.
It should float
On the water, and we will attempt to recover it.
Okay. So what makes it turn around and start to fall?
Well, it's just gravity.
So
gets
up there so high?
Yes.
Nothing else is pushing it up?
Actually, though, just getting high doesn't keep you up. One of the things that would be different, for example, from our vehicle and the space station, which is up there too,
orbiting around,
is the speed we have horizontally. When we get to the top, it's nearly stopped moving left and right, or in this case, to the southeast. But whereas the space station is going 7 kilometers a second at that point horizontally.
Right.
And it keeps it up in orbit around the Earth. And for us, we're not doing that. We're just coming straight back down.
Okay. Right. So you said the whole flight will take about 20 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. So where will you be while that 20 minutes is going on?
Just down the hall here, or down the line of consoles. I will be the representative of the project when the call for go or no go comes out.
So you'll have to say that yes or no on that?
It's very clear that I say EXP go.
Go.
It's done by a script. You are not just allowed to invent things to say.
Okay. All right. So what once that first minute happens, then from there on, there's no other additional motor, or are all of the motors burned up at that?
Correct.
At that point?
At that point, the first motor is burned up in 6 seconds.
In 6 seconds.
Yes.
Wow.
The second one lasts a full 10 seconds.
Wow.
They're pretty small motors,
Right.
but they boost the third stage, which is our main booster, up to a good speed and gets it somewhat high as well.
So how is this kind of a rocket? It's a sounding rocket.
Yes.
How is this kind of a rocket chosen then?
Well,
It meets the needs.
there are this facility
Mhm.
supports sounding rocket investigations for NASA. Very often they are carrying scientific instruments which can benefit from 10 or 15 minutes in space,
Right.
gather just enough data to get a scientifically useful result, but often more important, develop new technology for other missions. So you'll find that very often the detectors and things that are flying on NASA satellites have been flown on sounding rockets
Okay.
at some point. So also there is meteorological work that needs to be done and a high rate of flying with sounding rockets. And this facility is NASA's place where we have the capability to do this. So they have developed what we call a stable of rockets that you can choose from for your mission.
Okay.
We picked practically the biggest one available.
Okay.
We wanted to get high and come in hot and fast.
Come in hot. So at what point in that 20 minutes will the inflatable heat shield actually open up?
And that'll be just about apogee. So
Okay.
at the farthest point up, we don't want to start too soon or there will be a chance we might leak.
Okay.
And we don't want to start too late or we won't be inflated in time.
Right.
So this is the Goldilocks moment,
Right.
just right.
Right, just right. How long will the inflation actually take?
Well, it will have the shape in about a minute.
Oh, so
It will
very
be-
quickly.
Yes. Now, it'll take some time for it to get to its full pressure. But after about a minute, we're able to then turn on our attitude control system and turn it over in the right direction.
Okay, so you'll actually, or people here in this room will actually be controlling some aspects of it.
We
but,
won't give any commands.
But you can't give any commands,
No.
so you'll just flip a switch to tell it's on or off at this point.
Yes. In fact, it finds out we've launched and that's on. The control, the timing control is actually in something we call a telemetry module, and it has radio communications, but really it's just a transmitter. It does not have a receiver.
Okay.
So we have pre-programmed everything.
So what's done is done.
It's
And
done,
So,
yeah.
so what are you going to be feeling as all this is happening? This has been a long time project for you.
Well, no, actually, as sounding rocket programs, because they are less expensive, where satellite mission would be $160 million, as ours is only $16 million. That includes the rocket, and that it also happens very fast.
Right.
We had our major design review was only a year ago, and now we're launching. So that is a very fast
That's
build.
a fast pace
Yes.
for what other missions would be.
Right,
So people learn from the things that you do, the mistakes and the successes and all
Mistakes?
of that. No,
What?
sure. This is IRVE-3, right?
No. So I would like to put it. Certainly, I have made some mistakes, but a lot of times we don't really know how it's going to work. So, for example, there might be good design tools that tell us the strength of metal structures, but for fabric structures inflated and supported with straps and carrying a flexible thermal protection system, there are not good design tools. So we actually had to do a lot of experiments to see how to, for example, put the straps on it so that we can share the loads.
Right. So you really have, it is really a trial and error. There's not a book you can open and find out what the
Right.
specs are. You're actually collecting all of that
Correct.
information.
Correct. And although we've tested each of the pieces, what makes this kind of experiment especially useful is actually less the flight than the work that it takes to get to this point where we're sure we're going to have a good flight.
Right.
We have done a lot of testing to make sure we can do it, but along the way we leave behind us a wake of new knowledge.
Right. New things, new territory. Well, what career advice would you have for somebody who would want to sit in that chair right down the way in a future flight?
Well, it's certainly engineering is a major route to a seat here in the launch consoles, and you need to have your math skills up. And but surprisingly, to reach this level, you also need to know how to write clearly. So that is another important thing. I myself came through space astronomy but then found that, so I have the technical background, but found that working with people was really very interesting and useful and challenging in a way that finding out about quasars is not. And that I liked very much figuring out how to do the work, and that what we can do together is, working together, I should say, is more important than having high technology. You will get much more done that way.
So problem solving is kind of an everyday thing for your team, and working together to do all of that.
Yes.
So, well, David, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be watching the launch with you, and we're excited too. So
very good.
We'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned.